Aun Jun, or June as she is increasingly called these days, stares down at the data slate held in her manipulating appendage. Her whole form is troubled blue so bright one might lose sight of her membrane outline. As the director of the Vala Center of Life Sciences, she has seen and been part of many interesting discoveries. Some of them were dangerous and others with worrying connotations, but never has she seen something so unbelievable. The last 8 rotation cycles have gone by so quickly, and within each cycle so much has happened. It's mind-boggling to think that in such a short span of time, paradigm shift might be upon her, upon all of known society. Countless rules and conventions of science need to be rewritten, if not entirely thrown out. All of academia and the world beyond will be irreversibly rocked. It all began with the abyssal bubble. In deep space, far from the Akveros United Systems, is a curiosity that has baffled astrophysicists for well over 2,000 years. A hole in space where there seemed to be absolutely nothing occupying it. Some speculated that it was random chance that nothing occupies the space, while others theorized that there is something there, but it simply can't be seen. The latter argued that the zone is so devoid of vibe that the light from the stars there has no photonic vibe charge. If this was the case, then astronomers would need to construct a strict photon telescope of unfeasible power in order to investigate the mystery further. That last theory is certainly possible, but unlikely. Variable interlinked bioenergy, the phenomenon responsible for the formation of complex life, seems to exist in much of the known universe. It does not always gather in high enough quantity, or in the correct conditions to formulate life, but it is almost always unilaterally present. At the very least, the abyssal bubble would remain a curiosity, rather than anything to be concerned about. Then, 10 rotational cycles ago, something emerged from the abyssal bubble. Al Jun heard that the alarmed astronomer who discovered the object stormed her superior's working quarters, lighting up the room with a panicked yellow. The object was difficult to track. It emitted no vibe, and thus the only reliable way to keep tabs on it was to study the vibe occultation of stars it passed. After a day of frantic study, top scientists all across the AUS came to a nuclear freezing conclusion. The object is somehow moving countless times faster than photonic light, and only a few notches below the speed of radiant vibe. And it's set to pass dangerously close to Vala, the Akveros cradle world. They have only a single cycle to prepare. By the time every relevant party was immobilized, the object was already on their doorstep, having decelerated back into subluminal speeds. The object, it turned out, was a lonely little vessel made of metal, and within that vessel was... A deep, amused rumble interrupts Al Jun's thoughts. Laying the data slate in her grasp down on a table, she turns her photoreceptors to the corner of the room. There, with Al Jun's assistant Hyojul in his lap, is Nathan. Nathan, not Nathan, Al Jun's mind supplies, watching the goings-ons carefully. Humans do not use conjunctive inherited and personal names. Jewel, who is attempting to keep her stable quadrupedal travel form, looks as if she can barely focus. Her dull pink glow and the way her membrane wavers gives away the depths of her relaxation. She sits in Nathan's lap, swaying gently as Nathan's manipulated limbs, hands, Al Jun recalls, stroke either side of Jewel's protruding sensory node. If Al Jun is correct, then the sides of a sensory node are called the cheeks, in Nathan's confusing biological terms. Not to be confused with the backside set of cheeks. How nonsensical, giving 2 different parts the same name. Al Jun picks up her data slate again. With but a thought, the slate is slayed to her photoreceptors, and she begins to record what she sees. In that lonely vessel came Nathan, an explorer who came their way for no particular reason, guided only by wanderlust. With all possible speed and efficiency, Nathan was spirited away to the Vala Center of Life Sciences for a quiet first contact. Government web walkers were working themselves dry censoring information that appeared on the public extranet. Meeting an alien species was shocking enough, but that alone would not have been so terrible or requiring of secrecy. No, the fact that Nathan is a living being constructed of matter, not energy, is the real shocker. In one fell swoop, the Akveras theory of life was uprooted. Without a single iota of vibe to his name, Nathan lives only through a horrifically fragile balance of chemicals and electricity. That's it. Chemicals reacting with each other and pulses of electricity. By all known laws of the universe, their alien guest should be dead. Inert. Impossible. Some would say he's not even alive as is. Yet there he is, moving and alert, as he plays with Joel. Nathan rumbles in his native tongue, his lips pulling back into a... hungry? No, a pleased expression. It's so difficult to tell what he is thinking with no vibe to read. His speech is likewise near indecipherable. Any Akveros can vibrate the atmosphere for auxiliary communication, but without context provided by radiant vibe, one can only speak in the most simple and literal of terms. It doesn't help that Nathan's native language, English, is an utter mess of contradictory rules. If not for small wireless machine interfaces that Nathan was crazy enough to implant within the fragile meat of his sensory node, then communication would have been utterly impossible. Even then, the interface can't interact with vibe-based technology, so Nathan had to be provided a hastily cobbled together low wireless to vibe key that his interface could use as a stepping stone. Joel shuffles closer to Nathan's Deus-sized lap, and the giant smiles once more. To boggle the mind further, within the great behemoth of chemicals and electricity is a wide capacity for emotion, bringing up even more troubling questions. Vibe is required for a soul, and a soul is required for emotion. Yet Nathan has no vibe, but has emotion. Are his emotions genuine and valid without a soul? Or have the fundamental ideas behind the root of emotion been flawed this entire time? Does he have a capacity for more? For things like love? Can a tower of meat and chemicals know things like joy or passion? What other strange and horrible things lay beyond the boundaries of the bubble? Aljun lowers her data slate and stares back down at it, reviewing information she has reviewed 1,000 times already. Acids and proteins somehow achieving self-replication. Trillions upon trillions of individual components called cells form from the acids and proteins. Cells coming together to form larger components called organs, which perform macro functions. Atmospheric oxygen required for cellular respiration. Iron required for binding oxygen and moving it around the body to the cells. Electricity sent up and down a nervous system to relay instructions from a squishy central processor located in the sensory node. Some way, somehow, all of this works together at the same time to form a coherent, sapient being. It's just not possible. June? Aljun turns her sensory node up, staring up at the... is that worry? Worried face of Nathan. Hujul seems to have made herself scarce after her embarrassing moment with Nathan. You are well? He asks, tilting his head in a gesture she can't identify. You have been standing there for a long time. His spoken auxiliary Akveros is rough and halting, but his central processor of chemicals and electricity memorized and implemented the words in a way still easily understandable. Somehow. I am fine, Nathan, Aljun answers. Beneath her two photoreceptors, she materializes another pair. One's tuned strictly for photonic light to better take his visage in. Goodness, how long has it been since she's had to physically speak? I am merely thinking about how to present my findings to the wider academic community. You are a surprising find, to say the least. He crosses his manipulated limbs and quirks one of the patches of fur above his overly complicated eyes. You are sure you are not bothered? Positive. He smiles again, and leaning down, he pulls a surprised Ao Jun into a hug. Being so close, she can hear the gentle rhythm of his heart, pumping precious lifeblood through his body, and feel the heat of all the exothermic reactions within. A thought strikes her. If something happens to that heart, those reactions, or any other bit of his stupidly complicated anatomy, he will fall down and die. The thought makes Ao Jun's nucleus cold. Without even meaning to, she extends her membrane out into a pair of thick tendrils, and returns the embrace. That is good. Nathan smiles, seeming to be happy. You are a good friend, June. Your people are kind. Not sure what I would find out here. Expected nothing, but found aliens, he exclaims, delighted. Not only aliens, but good, kind aliens. We have many stories back home where aliens are bad or evil. Never like you. Glad I came. Glad I met you. Yes, Ao Jun murmurs back. I am glad I met you too, Nathan. Society had best prepare itself, for Nathan, first of the impossible, has arrived.